Justin Trudeau has recently visited the European Union Parliament, and it went down like an absolute lead balloon. Now, I never thought I would hear myself praising Eurocrats for doing the right thing.
Well, these are going to be MEPs from based parties in Europe who are still held hostage by the EU.
But no, it is most of them actually did the right thing.
Most of them?
Most of them.
That is shocking.
I know. I was genuinely amazed. But anyway, Justin Trudeau went to the European Parliament and decided to give a speech, and he must have thought that he was at Davos or something.
It's a vegan speech.
It kind of was. Let's play the clip.
These are anxious times, and people are looking for leadership and solutions. Unfortunately, we're seeing a rise in cynical populists who are trying to exploit these anxieties. They pretend to have easy solutions that play on people's fears. Even in Canada, where 90% of people are vaccinated, and our motto as a country is peace, order, and good government, we saw anti-vaccine and anti-government protests devolve into illegal occupations of our communities and blockades of our borders. The leaders of those convoys were effective in turning citizens with real anxieties against the system best suited to allay those concerns.
It's a lunatic, isn't he?
What's with the weird, like, uncanny valley acting?
Yeah, you see Jacinda Ardern does the same thing. I think it's a WEF training course they must go on or something like that.
But it kind of comes off like the way they speak, like the acting. For people who can't see because you're listening, it's sort of like he's almost winking at you whenever he says something. As in, like, yeah, we run the world.
Kind of. I mean, Klaus Schwab did call Canada their first constituency.
That's what I mean.
So, I mean, maybe. But you'll see that he's pathologizing a portion of his own population there.
Yes.
You know, he's saying, well, our citizens and then the leaders of these convoys. Like, no, they are also your citizens. You lunatic. You know, they're not, again, like the anti-vegans in Germany or something that you just need to get rid of, you evil man, right? And we've seen Trudeau's terror troopers in action. If you can scroll down a bit, just so you can see this one properly. You know, this is the woman with the mobility scooter or whatever it is, the mobility aid, being trampled on by massive police horses.
So the guy behind as well got trampled on.
Currently being trampled.
The report from the police was,
Sorry?
you remember the report from the police? Don't worry, the horse isn't hurt.
Yes, yeah, the horses were fine, and the people also survived, which is good. But yeah, so this was something that the European Parliament had seen, and they weren't impressed. And then Trudeau got to hear from the MEPs and their opinions of him, and you can tell that he was expecting a kind of Davos-style reception, but what he got was, well, I guess we can call it a Croatian-style reception instead. That's the first clip
trial of Ceausescu.
We'll get to that. It's in foreign, but there are subtitles, so let's watch.
Nažalost, danas su među nama I oni koji gaze te temeljne vrijednosti. Kanada, nekada simbol modernog svijeta, je pod vodstvom vaše kvazi-liberalne čizme proteklih mjeseci postala simbol kršenja temeljnih ljudskih prava I građanskih sloboda. Gledali smo kako konjima gaze žene, kako samohranim roditeljima blokirate bankovne račune, da ne mogu platiti djeci školovanje, da ne mogu platiti lijekove, da ne mogu platiti račune za struju I vodu, da ne mogu platiti rate kredita za svoje domove. Za vas su to možda liberalne metode. Međutim, za mnoge građane svijeta to je diktatura najgore vrste.
So you don't even need to be able to speak Croatian to understand a lot of those words. Dictatoria, whatever it is. Yeah, he's calling him a dictator. You know, for you this may be liberal, but for us, you're a dictatorship of the worst kind.
a man coming from a former Yugoslavian Socialist Republic.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone knows, you freezing citizens' bank accounts and treating them like they're evil, wow, that was a hell of a chewing out.
But that's what I mean by the fact that he turned up. There was a bit of a wink of a nod in the way he was acting.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, he thought he was with a bunch of comrades in
looks
the
that way, yeah.
international order.
Yes.
And instead, you must remember at least half the EU was under socialist rule at one point. And therefore, quite a lot of them aren't too keen on these people.
No. And when they get the opportunity to voice this lack of keenness, they do. What's more, here's a German MEP giving her opinion.
Based on Article 195, out that it would have been more appropriate for Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to address this House according to Article 144, an article which was specifically designed to debate violations of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, which is clearly the case with Mr. Trudeau. Then again, a Prime Minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this House at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
She got a big a round of applause after that as well. I should have left it on, really. But yeah, so you can see, this is not confined to just if there were British MEPs there, they'd have probably said the same thing.
But we've all left.
Yeah, we've all left, so this is no problem. But I mean, I love the way she frames, well, according to Article 144, we should have done it under Article 257 or whatever. It's like, oh, God. I hate the bureaucracy of the EU, but at least they're right on this. And so, yeah, I mean, it carries on. Let's go to the Romanian MEP who had something to say. Love this guy.
And what the Prime Minister of Canada, the way he's behaving right now, he's exactly like a tyrant, like a dictator. He's like Ceausescu in Romania. If even you doubt, if you raise doubts about the vaccines, you're outcasted. What's the difference between what he does and what happened under the Inquisition? See, on one side they say, well, we should not believe in God, but on the other side they say, believe in science. We don't have to. Science is not about belief. Science is about measurements, conclusions, hypotheses, and arguments. When I saw the protests in Canada, the way the truckers over there reacted, I got in touch with some of them, others contacted me, I congratulated them, and I want to use this opportunity to thank them, and I hope this movement for freedom and for rights is spreading all around the world.
Love it.
That was before.
I know, but
just so people are clear.
Yeah, and there was also he got chewed out by an Irish senator as well. Well, I won't bother playing it. You can just get up and see. She says, "Well, look, it sounded like something we'd hear about in Russia rather than the supposedly liberal democracy of Canada."
But I must say, I do really enjoy having it from former socialist countries,
great, isn't it?
Especially that Romania,
yeah,
where it's just we literally had to cut out the flag and overthrow him and shoot him against a wall.
Yeah,
they're Ceausescu, so they know about dictators. They know about how they have lived under them.
The Romanian guy, like you said, it was during the truck protest, but I had to include it because, you can see how bothered by this he is. This is you don't.
He's going to crack out the Romanian liberty songs at the minute. Tedesca libertata, Tedesca Romania.
And the reason I say that it's actually most of the MEPs who deserve a bit of respect for this. So if you can go to the next one, John, you can see that this is where they actually said. But if you scroll down, when Trudeau was speaking, they'd almost all left. They'd boycotted his speech.
Bye.
How embarrassing. Good for them. Absolutely good for them. In total, it was 6 MEPs who stood up and took the opportunity to denounce him. We could have gone through all the clips, but we'll save ourselves some time. But we can get to the next one. This counter-signal say, not only has he been ridiculed in front of the entire European Union over his tyrannical response to peaceful protesters participating in the Freedom Convoy, but nearly every MEP also boycotted his speech, leaving him humiliatingly utter his platitudes on democracy to an almost empty parliament. How great is that?
Yeah.
Good for them. Honestly, I'm just shocked. How do you think this was reported?
I imagine none of the cameras looked at the seats. I imagine they all just looked at Trudeau and went, oh, good man. He gave a speech about democracy.
Yes, but I mean by the media more broadly.
Well, that's what I mean. I imagine they ignored it.
Yes, they did. You can get to the next one. This, if you can just scroll down here, right? This was widely reported by right-wing non-Canadian media. Keep going down. So I want to show you some of the examples. So you've got, like, you know, various sort of, you know, dissident publications, you might say. Sky News Australia, a Serbian outlet, you know, blah, 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 right? But the Canadian press tried to ignore this. And when, obviously no left-leaning outlets, or I would consider left-leaning, report on this. But when they did report on it, they decided to just tell an untruth. The Canadian CBC claimed that Justin Trudeau received a standing ovation for his speech in the EU.
I mean, look, if his press secretary claps and he's the only one there...
That's right.
That's a standing ovation.
There are 3 people there standing and applauding. And that's it.
My press officer, my secretary, and my security guard are all clapping me, so I've done very well.
Failing to mention that over 9/10 of the parliament had left in protest before he began. Oof. That is just awful. Speaking before half-empty benches and packed public galleries, Trudeau received a sustained ovation when he said that the European Union and NATO are more united than ever in the face of Russian President Vladimir Putin's war. He said the world cannot let Ukraine down. They weren't just half-empty, though. They were almost entirely empty, as we saw a minute ago. No one wanted to hear Trudeau's speech, and he was denounced throughout his visit to Parliament. So bravo. Well done, European Union. You did something right. Never thought I'd say it, ever. But I'm very proud of you.
Also, I imagine for any Canadians listening who have been annoyed by some of the lack of denunciations, well,
yes,
got your back.
Oh man, all of the sort of Canadian, representatives of the sort of online space, people like, you know, Viva Fry and Short Fat Taco, and just all of them loving it. Absolutely loving it. There's Viva Fry on his Clips channel actually has a 5-minute compilation of Trudeau just being chewed out relentlessly for 5 straight minutes. It's gold. I could have played it, but I didn't think we'd have time. We actually do have time, but I'm not going to worry about it. But yeah, so that's that.
It's good to see.
Yeah, love it.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as Carl's interview here with Calvin Robinson. And if you want to follow Calvin, you can always follow him on Getter at Calvin Robinson on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.